everyone, and welcome to the Thursday, September 16th, 2021 edition of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and before I begin, if anybody has any electronic devices, if you could please do us the courtesy of turning those down to a silent mode before we begin, that would be very helpful to manage the meeting. We are right now on a hybrid model, which means some of our members may be present in the town hall, and others may be at home like myself, calling in remotely. So I have a script to read. I will do so as quickly as possible. And if you could bear with me for a moment while I switch over my computer screen to get to it. So we have to confirm member access first. As a preliminary matter, my name is Robert Tatro. I am the chair of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals. In an effort to reduce background noise, I'm going to ask that you all please mute your phones this time and only unmute if you're going to speak. That also applies to if you're joining us via computer in the GoToMeeting app. If you could also mute while you're listening to the meeting and then unmute while you speak. Please permit me to confirm that all the members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and that can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vice Chair Marin? I'm here. Thank you. Mr. Chicolo? A second for Mr. Chicolo. All right, we might come back to him in a minute. Mr. Cussy?
Affirmative.
Ms. Roach?
I'm here.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Bush?
I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, let's try Mr. Chicolo. Are you here, sir? Okay, so hearing no response from Mr. Chicolo, I'm going to make the motion that we're going to move Peter Jones up to full voting member this evening. As an alternate, he will now be participating in the hearings and voting for decisions. The town officials and employees participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Building Commissioner Caleb Moody.
Here.
CDIS Building Clerk Katrina Small. Thank you. Good evening, all. This open meeting for the Town of Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals for Thursday, September 16, 2021 is now called to order at 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in both in person and remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and extended on June 16, 2021. For this meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals is convening either in person or by remote participation for the public. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, you can call 1-646-749-3112 and enter access code 944-571-349. Or
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
That I was speaking, but apparently there was something fouled up, so I redialed in. This is Mr. Chicolo. I have been here.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. So I will rescind my first executive order of the meeting, and we will have Mr. Chicolo, the full acting member, and Mr. Jones will return as an alternate. So for the public to join the meeting remotely, again, please call 1-646-749-3112 and enter access code 944-571-349. Or the public can join via computer at gotomeeting.com. Click on the upper right corner where it says join. Enter meeting number 944-571-349. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join also. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television and will be rebroadcast. Accordingly, those members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, employees, and members of the public who participate, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Meeting business ground rules. So before we get started, this is how we will operate this evening. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Robert Tatro, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If you happen to be a butter, please include your name and address. If members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so by going to the chair, take the chair to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford any public comments as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify the names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each name and afford 3 minutes for any comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. If, in fact, we have technical difficulties, we will suspend the meeting while attempts to resolve are made, and we will keep accurate minutes noting any disconnections and reconnections of the membership, the other members. Okay, so my script has been read. Let me go back to my GoToMeeting screen here. And we are back, and we have a 6 o'clock p.m. applicant. Applicant is NJ Realty Trust, requesting a special permit under section 4.3.5.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for an aquifer special permit on property located at 5 St. Mark Street, Auburn, Mass, map 50, parcel 61. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to open the hearing.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chicolo, second.
Thank you very much, sir. Our first roll call vote of the evening. Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote? Thank you. Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
I approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And I vote to approve. The hearing is officially open. So, is the applicant present? If you could please identify yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Patrick McCarty, McCarty Engineering, here on behalf of NJ Realty Trust.
Thank you very much. Sir, I'm going to yield the floor to you. If you could go over your presentation, and then we will begin with the butters and then move to the members of the board. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, Patrick McCarty here this evening on behalf of NJ Realty Trust, which is the Realty Trust that owns the Patrick Motors dealership land here in the town of Auburn. As I'm sure all of you have seen, we just recently completed construction of the new Mazda facility at 189 Washington Street, and we're currently under construction at 519 Washington Street for the new Volvo Cars of Auburn dealership that's being relocated from Worcester to the town of Auburn. And this board granted an amendment to our special permit for that approximately 18 months ago. Following the Volvo project, we'll be moving right into the renovation and expansion of the Volkswagen side of the project so that the Patrick families will have 3 state-of-the-art dealerships here in Auburn just within a few miles of each other. They've recently purchased the property at 5 St. Mark Street, as you just described, which is approximately halfway in between the Mazda dealership and the Volvo Volkswagen dealership. They purchased the property with the intention of constructing a reconditioning facility. It would be a 6,000 square foot building that would have 4 overhead doors on the front of it, where they would be able to bring vehicles in to do minor repairs such as, tires, brakes, washing, waxing, basically reconditioning the vehicles that are either taken in trade or purchased at the auction. They would bring them to this facility, they'd recondition them to get them ready for sale, and then they'd either be brought to one of the 3 dealerships here in town or potentially the Subaru dealership that's located just down the road in Shrewsbury. The site at 5 St. Mark Street formerly housed the Auburn Sportsplex, which was a large sports dome, a plastic sports dome that collapsed in 2014. However, the dome itself was removed, but the concrete foundation, sections of the floor slab still remain, as does the parking area that's in between St. Mark Street and that former foundation. So on the screen at home, you have the existing conditions plan. One, please. So that looks like a panhandle shape. That was the footprint of the former Sportsplex building, and that foundation still remains in between that panhandle shape and the street is where it's all impervious area now. If you wouldn't mind scrolling one more sheet, please. There's the proposed site plan. I have a colored version here that some of you may be able to see that indicates the proposed building. The building is situated in the back right corner of the site, and in between the building and the street is a new parking area, as well as to the left. You can see that the panhandle that was building on the existing conditions has been eliminated, and that space is going to be seeded in such a manner that it will just regrow naturally. It's not intended to be manicured lawn. And this project results in about a 12,000 square foot reduction in impervious area. It also increases the setback from the pavement and impervious area to the pond. We are before the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board at the same time for this project. We had the opening meeting with Conservation last week. They're going to have a site walk this week, and then we go back to them next week. We don't anticipate any issues there. DEP's issued a file number for us with no comments. We had our opening meeting with Planning Board this Tuesday evening. They sent the plans out to Graves Engineering for peer review, and we received comments back from Graves on Monday of this week with a couple typos and a couple statements of agreement with how we modeled the stormwater and how we met the stormwater management standards. So as I mentioned, we are reducing impervious area. We are proposing new deep sump catch basins that go to the two existing underground infiltration systems. There are two systems existing on the site. The larger of the two used to handle the runoff from the roof of the sportsplex. The smaller of the two used to handle the pavement runoff from the parking area of the sportsplex. As we now have more paving and less rooftop, we flip-flopped the uses of those and expanded them accordingly so that we have 100% infiltration back into the groundwater. Using Caltech systems, there is no outlet out to the pond or out to the street. It's all going recharge back into the ground. For the rooftop portion, that's clean water, so that's just going right from the roof leaders into the system. For the parking areas, it's going through deep sump catch basins and into water quality units before it goes into the system. The special permit that we're requesting is for automotive repair, as we are within the Zone 2 aquifer. And then I think repair in this sense is the lightest sense of the word. We're not in there, doing full engine overhauls or anything like that. It's really majority of wear and tear items and cosmetic repairs in order to get vehicles for sale, ready for sale. And we believe that we've done a good job to design the site to decrease impervious area, to improve the quality of the runoff, and to make some landscaping improvements as well, just to clean up the general appearance of the site. As it is right now, it's been sitting about 6 years with just foundation and pavement remnants and overgrown with brush. So we're hopeful that I left out the abundance of parking spaces. So the board might recall that we came before you about 2 years ago to ask for a variance to put parking behind the Volvo Volkswagen facility in order to store excess inventory. We're taking advantage of this flat site that's currently impervious and proposing some overflow parking spaces here. The deliveries of the cars would still come to the various dealerships, and the Patrick's employees would shuttle cars as necessary. For example, if somebody comes in and says, I want a black Passat, and they don't have one on the lot, they might say, oh, we have one down at St. Mark Street. Well, let us run down the street and get it for you. It's just to provide that convenience of the additional inventory for the dealerships. So we have 149 spaces proposed along with the 6,000 square foot building. So I think, Mr. Chairman, that's my overview. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I would hope that the board could support our special permit request. The Patricks are anxious to try to get this started this construction season prior to the winter that's going to be here sooner than all of us would like.
Okay, so thank you for that clear and concise presentation. I do appreciate that. Do we have any abutters present that would like to identify themselves and speak before the board on this particular hearing? If so, if you could unmute your mic and identify yourself. All right, I'll give a countdown for abutters again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to turn it over to the individual members of the board. This does not infer that if abutters do happen to call in, they will obviously have the opportunity to speak, but we're just going to move in a chronological order. So, Vice Chair Marin, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, to the applicant, I appreciate your presentation. I have two quick questions just to affirm a couple of things that I think I understand in your brief. So, the increase, the decrease in impervious surface, is that primarily happening in the pan section, the handle section of the lot?
Yes, through the chair, it's happening in the panhandle. There's also a large precast concrete block retaining wall that is along our frontage and then along our northern property line with the abutter. Currently, it's paved right up to the base of that retaining wall. So we have created some green spaces at the edge of our parking lot that you could see on the color rendering here. I think you could see it on looking on your screen. The bottom of the page, there's a triangle in the point that's currently paved. It's becoming impervious, as is the island on your left as you're pulling in and along the edge. And also the back edge of the parking lot is approximately 3 feet further away from the pond than the existing foundation. So it's the sum of those areas that result in the decrease.
And the final question for now. So in the rendering that we're looking at right now, with the at the top of the screen, so where the building and then all those parking spaces meet and end in proximity to the pond, are you planning to? It certainly looks like you're looking at the same footprint of paved surface currently. Are you proposing any additional space into the growth and clearing any growth that is currently there? Because it appears it drops off from the at least a significant grade.
That's correct. It does, yes. It is a significant drop down to the pond. So no, we are not touching any of the existing growth. And that foundation line that exists, if you come to the top of the slope, it varies somewhere between 6 or 8 feet of flat ground before you get to the foundation. Our curb line is 2 feet further in round numbers from that foundation line. So we're pulling that much away. The only reason we're proposing any work within the 25-foot no touch of the Conservation Commission is to remove that foundation and then to regrade after it's excavated to backfill that foundation excavation, illumine and seed it.
And I did say I only had 2 questions, but I have a final if you'll indulge me. You brought up in the front corner of the lot, there's currently a significant retaining wall, cinder block retaining wall that's sizable. Is there any proposed work to be done to that, or is that going to stay as existing?
Nope. So that's actually holding up the edge of St. Mark Street along most of our frontage, except for where the proposed driveway is. So that wall needs to remain in order to keep the roadway where it is. I've walked it from end to end, and structurally it's fine. It does have some brush growing out of it, so we would obviously clean all that up as part of the project, for just one, for appearance, and two, to keep the roots from causing any future structural issues with it. But the wall is to remain.
Understood, but you would go through an assessment to make sure that it maintains structural integrity, because it has provided significant structural barrier to hold up the street. Okay.
Yeah, I'm personally not sure on the history of that. I'm not sure if that was constructed as part of the sportsplex. I'm guessing due to the age of St. Mark Street that at least a portion of it was there, holding up the right-of-way of St. Mark Street. Caleb, would you happen to know?
I honestly don't know the history. I think if the wall predated the sportsplex, it was probably updated at the time the sportsplex was constructed.
And if I may, to the chair, to Caleb. So is that based on holding up essentially the street? Is that privately owned by this property, or is that a town wall?
No, I believe the wall is on private property.
All right, thank you for that, and appreciate your responses. Chairman, I'm going to reserve. I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Colo, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the applicant. As part of detailing and getting cars ready for sale, oftentimes might be a small scratch, a light dent, and so forth. Will any body work, such as what I just described, be done at this location?
No, sir. The only work that you were here, you'd see me doing the air quotes that I would call body work is, paintless dent repair guy might come in to do that kind of work. But again, that doesn't create any of the fumes or overspray or anything like that. And then they do have a mobile vendor that comes in to do rim repair. If a lot of times you scuff your rim on a curb, they'll bring somebody in to fix those gouges, but that would be the extent of the work. No fender replacement or anything of that extensive.
Will there be essentially, and I'm using the word essentially, but there'll be no chemicals on the property except for polishes and so forth?
No, they might do. They might change some brakes. They might do an oil change. Flush the coolant, that kind of stuff. But what I failed to mention in my description is each of these bays is equipped with a trench drain. The floor will be pitched to those trench drains, and they are all connected to an oil water separator at the exterior of the building that then discharges to the town sewer system.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the applicant. I also will reserve the right to come back.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Cussy, I yield the floor to you, sir.
Yeah, one question. Will all repairs be done indoors?
Yes. I'm sorry, who was that? I'm trying to take notes as we go.
Will all repairs be done indoors?
Yes, all repairs will be done indoors.
Will all be done indoors?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I'm good for now, Bob.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Roach.
Just two quick questions to the applicant. My first question, what are the planned hours of operation of this facility? Will it be the same hours as the dealership?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't think we've actually discussed that at any length, but I know that they have, for example, in the Mazda facility now that we just constructed, there's 2 bays that they call their reconditioning bays, and those guys are there the same hours as their service techs, which is, standard hours during the week and a half a day on Saturday.
And then last question, I know you said vehicles will be stored there, traffic employees will move cars back and forth, and that no customers are going to visit a location. If they're picking up a car that has been serviced, they'll pick it up at the dealership?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
No customers, and it is fenced off with a sliding gate, so it's, even after hours, nobody should be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for training purposes, I'm going to yield the floor to Mr. Jones and then Ms. Bush. If they have any questions, again, I'm one for the decision, but I believe in the value of the training and having the opportunity to ask questions if they have any. So, Mr. Jones, I'm going to yield the floor to you, sir.
I actually have no questions, but I got to say thank you. I have been educated by the questions of the other members.
Great. Thank you very much. Ms. Bush?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. So, as you know, we are the stewards of our aquifer in town. And since I actually have, I'm going to go to Caleb on this. Is do we know the age of the existing water management system under the property now?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to defer to the applicant. I'm pretty sure he has that information.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the site plans were approved in 1999, so I would say somewhere around 2000 is when those were installed. They are Cultec 180 HD, which is still a model that Cultec manufactures now. It's a standard chamber. And in both instances, if you look at sheet 3, which is the grading and drainage plan, you'll see that we're adding on significantly, primarily to the parking lot system. We're adding quite a bit of chambers. And so we'll have to excavate down to the bottom of the existing bed in order to extend the stone over, set our new chambers and stone around them. So we'll be able to observe the condition of the existing systems at that time. And certainly we wouldn't leave it in disrepair. I think that my firm will also be doing the construction as well as the engineering, as we did on the Mazda project and as we are doing right now on the Volvo Volkswagen project. So I think that the Mazda project speaks for the quality of product that we produce, and we're certainly not going to take any shortcuts on you.
And again, I don't believe that you would either, and I understand all the projects that we've had in a similar design and features have been of equal quality, and I have very much confidence in Graves Engineering. It's just that, again, as our main responsibility as the members of the zoning board here is to ensure the safety of our aquifer protection zones to the best of our ability if we're going to approve these projects. So that was my concern.
Excellent.
On a side note, one of the things that we do talk about too, because I know there's really not too many neighbors down there, but we could also mention as a condition of the permit to determine lighting issues and direction of lighting, and if hours of lighting in the parking lot, that type of thing. So with that being said, then I think, again, as Mr. Jones stated, I'm pretty satisfied with all the other members' questions and how they can answer the are. So I will go around one more time and ask if we have any abutters that have joined the meeting since our last conversation about the bus. Okay, hearing none, seeing none. I'll give a countdown for abutters. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so we had a couple hold on 1 second. So
through the chair,
I'm going to go around.
through the chair, if I can just jump in, Mr. Chiquillo's sound he's causing the back feed, so maybe he could just mute his phone while he's not speaking.
Yeah, he shows on my screen as being muted. So I'm not sure what was happening there. I did hear that knocking noise, but... Well,
through the chair, I just muted him myself, but he can mute his phone personally. That way I don't have to mute and unmute him.
Aha. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think he may have been disconnected. It said he just left, at least as far as mine goes. So he may have lost his internet connection for a moment. So with that being said, though, I can start with the other members. Vice Chair Maron, now that you've heard all the other questions and concerns, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't have any additional questions.
Okay. Mr. Cussy.
I'm all set, Bob. No additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roach.
I'm all set. Sorry, I couldn't unmute fast enough. I am all set. I have no questions.
That's okay. Believe it or not, this is one of our smoother meetings. We're not doing too bad. So we're going to have to see, unfortunately, hopefully Mr. Chicolo will be able to reconnect to this meeting. Or Caleb, if he cannot reconnect, can we move one of the alternates forward since I actually had them ask the questions earlier?
Through the chair, given that both the alternates have been at the meeting and heard all the discussion and are able to ask questions if they like, they can vote on the hearing.
I thought so. I just wanted to confirm. So, okay. So with that being said, do I have a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes, Rich Cussy, second.
Thank you, Mr. Cussy. Okay, so a roll call vote. So, I do not see Mr. Chicolo rejoining for the current time. So again, as my previous statement, I'm going to move Mr. Jones up to voting member for the remainder of this hearing. So with that being said, I'm going to do the roll call vote. So, Mr. Marin, how do you vote, sir?
Approved.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote, sir?
Approved.
Mr. Chairman, I am here again.
Okay, great. So we will reconvene as we had stated with all our full active members then. So we are actually, Mr. Cussy, Mr. Chicolo, we are just closing the public portion of the hearing. So do you vote in favor of closing the public portion of the hearing?
Yes, approve.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Yes, approved.
Thank you. And the chair, I vote to approve the public portion of the hearing is closed. So one more time around the horn. Vice Chair Marin, sir, do you have anything you'd like to comment or discuss with the other members of the board?
No additional questions. I'll make a comment for the board's consideration. I don't have concerns on the application before us. Specifically, as I know that, and the applicant stated, conservation and the planning board will be looking closely at this. I did hear, Mr. Chairman, your thoughtful comments relative to any additional conditions on directional lighting and those types of things. I'm satisfied with standard conditions, given the fact that, again, the planning board's watchful eye will be on the application. And that's just me. If other board members feel as though there are specific conditions that they'd like to apply, I can certainly go along with that. But I for one, don't feel that anything out of the standard conditions might be necessary here.
Excellent. Thank you very much for those comments. Mr. Chicolo, do you have any comments or questions or concerns, sir?
No further comments.
Thank you. Mr. Cussy?
No further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
I am all set, thank you.
And as the chair, I am also all set, and I will agree with Mr. Marin that I am confident that our colleagues on the planning board and the conservation commission will keep a close eye on this and manage their respective concerns accordingly. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the 6 p.m. application for N&J Realty Trust requesting a special permit under section 4.3.5.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for an aquifer special permit on property located at 5 St. Mark's Street, Auburn, Mass, map 50, parcel 61.
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to approve with standard conditions as stated.
Chicolo seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chicolo. So as a roll call vote, Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote, sir?
I approve as stated.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote, sir?
Approve as stated.
Thank you. Mrs. Cussy, how do you vote, sir?
I'll approve.
And Ms. Roach, how do you vote, ma'am?
I will approve.
Thank you. And as the chair, I also vote to approve. So, sir, good luck with your projects. I wish you well through the rest of the course with the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. We look forward to having you as hopefully a good neighbor.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so we only had the one hearing for this evening, so it was a pretty short meeting. So we have to approve the minutes of the meeting for the August 19th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for the August 19th?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to approve the August 19th, 21 minutes as written.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second, Chicolo.
Thank you. Mr. Marin, how do you vote, sir?
I approve.
Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote, ma'am?
I approve.
And I vote to approve as well. Our next meeting is October 21st, 2021. So with that being said, if anybody is interested in getting an application in, please contact the Department of Inspectional Services as soon as possible so they can be adequately advertised per requirements of the town. And with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
And Chacolo will second.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marin, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Roach, how do you vote, ma'am?
I would approve.
And I also vote to approve. The meeting is adjourned.